Why, hi there, it's Uncle Ron, and today I'm going to go through some what I've kind of learned as we finish up Thanksgiving week, what I've learned about streaming, what tips I can pass along to you who stream or create content or are thinking about creating content. And the first thing I would say is obviously do it. It's fun. Back is usually overwhelmingly positive, although it is the internet and, things do happen and you aren't going to create, everything you create is not something that people are going to agree with. And that depends on what kind of content, anything really. If you're not familiar with my channel on a regular basis, I create sports content, kind of older sports content, playing older teams with newer simulation-based games, and different results happen, and favorite teams get beat, and all that. And so when someone sees you managing or coaching their favorite team, what they perceive to be the wrong way, they're going to let you know about it. Now, always constructive criticism you should listen to, because if I'm not overly familiar with something, let's say I play a team that's like modern or from outside of my sports wheelhouse of 1978 to 1993, then I'm not necessarily going to know the best way to do something. I'll learn. And we now have all the technology that you can go through and say, oh, I should do A, B, and C or whatever. But yes, people will get on you for how you play the game. And you can explain to yourself why you're blue in the face why you made decision A or decision B, but that's not always going to make people happy. Okay, so as far as streaming is concerned, I mean, there is an illusion that this is easy. And it really isn't. Everything that you decide that you want to share with the general public needs some forethought. Am I going to do this live? And if you're just looking for some social interaction, and have a computer powerful enough to do that, because I think a lot of people try to go live and they don't have the horsepower to pull it off. You're going to see me looking down to the right here a few times. I'm trying to see what my CPU load is as I do this. I've tried to recently stream some stuff on Twitch and record at the same time, and my CPU said, we're not doing that. Thankfully, my stuff saves on Twitch, and the next time I go on Twitch, I'm going to go through and just do it like I would a live YouTube stream. But again, what do you get out of it by going live? If you have a regular audience of people who will sit and chat, then yes, live is probably a good idea. If you're streaming live and you're having trouble keeping contact and no one is really watching your stuff, then why are you going live? What's the point of going live? Tape it, make sure it's good, make sure that you're showing what you want to show, and people will comment on it if they like what you do. There's no requirement that everything you do must be live. 85% when I was live streaming on a regular basis on YouTube, 85% of my traffic came after the live broadcast was done. It just made no sense. You still want the social experience, and live is good with that. You get people get in there and they're chatty, and there's some good puns, and you find out what happened in the game and all that good stuff. There's lots of good things about being live, but the numbers told me that, at least on YouTube, that live didn't really matter. Tape is how people take you in. They might not watch as long. But if 100 people watch my stream and 20 watch live, 80 watched on tape. So don't be afraid to tape. Also, depends on what you're doing. Some games, like a regularly scheduled regular season game between two teams in a sport, is more of a social interaction thing. Yeah, we're going to play the game, and you guys are going to talk amongst yourselves, and I'm just going to be your background noise. And that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But there are times, and I did this with a Thanksgiving game, that I did it live because I'm still looking to test to see what works and doesn't work on Twitch, where the game tells the proper story. And I don't really sometimes it's best not to have the interaction. I want you paying attention to the story that I'm trying to tell. Like I said, the Thanksgiving Day game being that example of two teams who just bludgeoned each other. It was great that I was live, but that would have been, I've done stuff specifically on tape before for that reason. Which kind of leads to point number 2, which is have a reason to do content. You're going to find better success if if there is something that you specifically want to share, as opposed to, I'm bored, let's stream something. I mean, for some people, that works. For me, that really doesn't. We do that with Uncle Ron's Let's Talk, and talk about whatever things, and people will watch, and I have a good time doing it, but that's because I experience. And other times, I want to show off a game, I want to tell the story of an event, and the way that I do that is by actually playing a replay of the game, or videos like this, or someone asked about X, and it's easier for me to explain about X without the pressure of going live. Or because I want to explain how I do things, which is kind of like where this video is coming from. Always have a purpose. When I was in radio, when I was being trained to be in radio back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a sign there by the microphone that said, don't crack that music station, okay? So playing music I really didn't like. I played Love in an Elevator and Oil about 18 gazillion times. Living it up when I'm going down. I like that song. A lot of that I played, did not like. Anyway, don't crack that microphone unless you have something you want to say. Don't fill airtime with just idle crap. And if you listen to the radio today, they don't do any crap on the radio. It's pretty much, it's a jukebox. That was Jackson Browne, and we'll be back with Steely Dan after 12 minutes of advertisements for cars for kids and other things you wouldn't buy in a million years. Please stay with us. That sort of thing. But don't crack open a mic on the radio unless you have something to say. You shouldn't stream really if it doesn't mean something to you. I do something that's out of my wheelhouse, such as football for Pro Football Championship replay, or a World Series. Actually, the World Series pre-plays did mean something in the last 2 years. I'd vested interest in both the Red Sox and the Nationals. It's let's learn about these things together. That was, I think, the most important thing to pass along to someone who may be considering doing content creation is just don't do it because you think it's a good idea. Have passion behind what you do. Don't fake it. Don't fake it. There's a reason why I do regular seasons leading up to postseason. For me, and this is just for me, if everything was a Game 6 or a Game 7 or a Super Bowl or a championship, it would get old real fast. There is, as a baseball, primarily a baseball fan, there really is, the journey is even more of the enjoyment than the final destination. And so by the time that we got to the final destination, when I did the 1982 replay, it meant more because we had all gone through that together, just like a regular season does in any particular sport, whatever sport. It means something more at the end to have the Expos and the Orioles play for the championship, because what the reality that we created all together was the Expos and the Orioles, or the Steelers and the Cowboys, or whatever, the Patriots beating the 85 Bears. It's because that's what we all shared together over the course of those 8 weeks, those 16, those 20 weeks, 30 weeks. As opposed to, there's sometimes you got to do it, the championships and that, and they're fun to do. But for me, and again, only for me, I do that all the time. It gets tiring to do it all the time. Not everything is life and death. It's all about the journey. But again, I watch cab videos of trains and trucks. I like the journey. The destination is important. You get hungry, you're thirsty, you want to see different parts of the world, but getting there, playing your favorite tunes on a speaker or a radio, I enjoy doing that. So always have a reason to show your stuff. People are going to get into what you want to share. People are receptive to what you want to share. They may give you a hard time about it. If someone streamed a whole bunch of Ohio and Notre Dame stuff, I might give you a hard time about it since I'm having an absolute irrational hate for both those programs. But if you're good about sharing what you are passionate about those two things, I'm going to be more tempted to watch because it's something that you care about. Okay, that's a big one. And people are going to stay and watch you longer, which is another thing you got to watch for. How long, not that people watch, how long are they watching for? Are they popping in and out real quick, or are they staying for 15, 20, 30, maybe the entire broadcast? And on demand, that's harder to do. But it is possible. So that's probably the most important thing. Other thing, label your stuff correctly. I know people who label by name, such as Action PC Football, 1979, Pittsburgh at the Rams, or Pittsburgh at Los Angeles. And it tells you off the bat what game engine you're doing, who you're playing, everything in your description, which is picked up by the search engines, needs to be spelt correctly. If there's a little red wiggly line under a word, make sure it is spelt correctly. Because that's how you want to be discovered by other people. Doesn't matter if it's live, doesn't matter if it's on tape, doesn't matter if you're doing it in smoke signals or whatever. You want people to find you if you're creating content. You have something to share. And again, this does not have anything to do with sports, whether you collect baseball cards, or coins, or you want to show how you make your favorite beef stew recipe, or where you put the elf on the shelf, or how you like to get drunk, or whatever it is, because content creation means different things to different people. It's sharing what we love as opposed to stuff that we don't like. There's too much negativity in the world. Don't do it. So there's one channel I follow. He restored Matchbox cars from the 60s. It's fascinating. And the reason is because he genuinely cares about what he's doing. And he's found other people who genuinely care about their toys. And so it's cool to watch a 6-year-old or 5-year-old windshield be restored and chrome be restored on new tires, these little cars. Or those who watch the old Bob Ross videos, or our dear friend who sits there and films sunrises and sunsets at night, and alligators for whatever reason. Hey, that's what that person wants to share. It doesn't need to be an 1.5-hour stream. It doesn't need to be a 10-minute stream. 15, 20 seconds is fine. As long as people are watching it all. It's what you feel passionate about. is what you should stream. Now, the things that have helped me are doing things at the same time on a regular basis. Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, I'm expected to produce content live on some sort of platform, whether it was YouTube before or now Twitch, because that's what people have expected. And I can turn right around now and reload that onto YouTube as soon as I'm done on Twitch, because I can download it from there. That will help build a following. Watching people react to your stuff, whether it's hitting that thumbs up or subscribing to the channel or interacting with you on the comments, makes me a better content creator, because I know what people like, I know what pisses people off, and you want to give people stuff that they like, but you have to like it too. So don't do something because someone else likes it and you don't. Okay, I mean that's a big deal. Do stuff that you like. But kind of like when you were in school and you had to do a math problem, and you had, or a chemistry thing, and you had to show your work. It's kind of the same thing in content creation. I need to prove to you that I like what I'm presenting. I might not like the result. I might think that I have two of the hottest football games scheduled in a given week, like the last week of the season that I did live streamed on YouTube. And then the combined score for both of those games was 75-7. And they were horrible games. They were absolutely terrible games. Or 75-40, whatever it was. There were two games I thought would be maybe a touchdown combined after both games. No, absolute stinkers. Absolute stinkers. But people liked them because you gotta be honest. You don't, when you're doing sports content or if you're building a model, or stuff's gonna happen. Let's say you're building some sort of model or some sort of robot. Maybe you solder the wrong thing, or you drop a piece on the floor and it breaks. Whatever. I mean, people don't expect perfection. They do expect you to make mistakes. That's part of the fun. But you have to be able to establish with your audience in a short order why it is they should spend the next 15, 20 hour, 2 hours watching your content, knowing that people are going to go back and forth through it, and they're going to zip through the highlights to get to see what they want to see. But don't fake it. Don't be overly enthusiastic about it. Then everyone expects that from you. You just go through it. And a good example of that is Al Red Sox fan, especially when he does a boxing match. The man loves boxing a ton. And it shows. And it doesn't matter whether it's Ollie and Frazier or two tomato cans that maybe weigh 220 pounds combined. He loves the sport. It comes right through. And you want to watch because that passion goes right through. You knew when you watched on television a baseball game called by Vin Scully, or a college football game called by Keith Jackson, or a football game by Pat Summerall, or tennis, or even golf. I mean, Pat got paid by the syllable, I think, and must have been pretty good because he didn't say much. But you knew in your heart of hearts when you were watching it that the person presenting it to you was as equally immersed in the content of what they were showing as you were in watching, and not caught in the overhype of whatever network was televising it. And later on, after this exciting game, we're going to bring you 17 hours of LeBron James highlights. Okay, if you're like LeBron James, that's great. If you don't, what the hell you want to watch that for? That sort of thing. You want to be able to quickly establish why you are doing what you are doing. We are playing the Giants and the Vikings from Week 13 of the NFL 1986 pro football season because these are the two division leaders, and we think this might be an NFC championship preview. And Phil Simms, when he's good, he's very, very good. And the Vikings have a problem. They're on a backup quarter. Whatever it is, you don't want people to guess. You don't want people to think. You lay it out there. Why am I taking the time to show you X? And that Y is coming next, whether it's in 2 days or next week or 2 weeks, because you don't have to do this every day. Why am I doing this? What is at stake? What will be the case after this is it? Is this a case where at the end of my baseball season replay, when the Orioles and the Brewers were fighting and the Tigers were fighting for that American League East race when all the other divisions were decided, and the Tigers have blown a doubleheader. Okay, if the Orioles win this game, they have won the American League East. They will play the California Angels in the American League Championship Series, and Game 1 will be in Anaheim. Okay, you can summarize that very quickly. You give it the broadcast urgency without having to hyperventilate on what's going on. And the game kind of speaks for itself. The content you create has to speak on its own. Sometimes it's a mistake that you make while doing it, and other times it's just unexpected. The content tells the story. You guide it along. You try not to make too many mistakes, but the content tells the story. Whether it's live or tape, whether it's sports or dominoes, or there's a channel I subscribe to that does marble races, okay? On the surface of that, it's like, why the hell would you watch marbles knock each other out of the rink? Well, my mother always said that if you can get hurt doing it, Ronnie will love it. And there's some sort of truth to that, I think. But the way that he creates his presentations, you get involved with these marbles, and you kind of pick a different team with the marbles, and you want certain marbles. They're marbles, okay? They're not anything you're going to own. You cannot go out and buy his Jelly Belly pink marble, okay? But you get an emotional attachment to the content you are watching. All right, okay. What else can I help with? Things that you don't see and I don't talk about. Equipment is huge. If you're just doing this for giggles, then understand the limits of what your equipment is. If you can only do Wi-Fi, I highly recommend you tape everything, because you're just not going to have a steady enough connection to keep a live audience entertained, because the connection is going to cut at some point. What programs like OBS and XSplit don't teach you is you must feed so much data for the feed to be stable. On the other hand, if you don't have the horsepower in your computer to keep that feed stable, it's going to make an unstable feed, if that makes any sense at all. I upgraded this computer about a year ago. I bought an aftermarket Acer, which I did not realize was an aftermarket, thinking I had a pretty good deal for the money I wanted to spend, and the second I turned it on, the warranty was void, because someone bought a bunch of Acers that were new, the Nitros, right? This is a Nitro 5. And changed the hard drive and added a memory and added a GPU, graphics processing unit, which voided the original warranty on the computer. And so I've been high-flying on this computer for about 14 months without a working warranty. And that's my fault for not doing the responsible homework. Was I mad? Yes, I was furious. But what you don't see is the money I have locked into making sure I have hardware that will meet the basic requirements of me being able to live stream at will on the platform of my choice. Not saying that you should do that, but between monitor number 2 here, which I'm looking at right now, television set as a matter of fact, the microphone that you see, the camera that I'm looking into, and the computer of which I record all this stuff to, $1,000, $1,100, $1,200, $1,400, and the software is another $100 a year. That doesn't include the StreamYard stuff, which is $22, which is about $240 a year. So really, to come up with a system that will do what I want it to do, I have about $1,500 sunk into it. Now, the microphone, the camera, monitor number 2, and the software will go with whatever system I want it to use. So when I spend money next year on the next generation of computer and graphics card to keep up with the Joneses and trying to do streams and content creation, I think you're going to watch, the amount of money that I spend goes up. And when a new person comes along, they don't understand why their stuff doesn't look to their satisfaction or they can't get the sound to work. This system was specifically bought and set up for streaming. This does not mean that you should go out and spend all sorts of money on hardware. Not at all. But that's the reality of I'm staring into a 1080 camera using a computer that can process 4K video. I don't have a 4K monitor to watch. A television set that I can plug into, and streaming software that I can record and do basic editing. It's just like 1965. I can do linear edits with video. I'm terrible at it, but I can do it. Make productions that look relatively slick. There are people who do this who are much, much, much better than I am. And they spend hundreds of dollars on Adobe or Final Cut Pro and thousands on cameras to have whatever, to do eye-dropping videos, to make your food presentations look good, or their trips to castles in England look good, or whatever it is that they do for content. I think the next thing I would say is that quality always beats quantity. If you can do one good broadcast a week, I'd rather watch that than 10 crappy broadcasts. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do what you want to do. But if you're going, I think I want to do this. I don't want to watch you do your nails. I don't want to watch you brush your teeth. I don't want to watch you drop eggs in the kitchen unless you're a cooking channel and it's funny. I want to see what you think is your best stuff. And every time you hit that button, record or go live, that you are going to give what you think is the best effort that you can. Sometimes it goes well, and sometimes a cat will poke you in the ear. And sometimes the best stuff comes from the unexpected mistakes. When I record to tape during a game, unless I got a sneeze or something that I don't want you to hear, or the wife needs to come in, or I gotta pee or something like that, it is strictly live, bloopers and all. I don't go back and replay anything. I don't go back and redub anything. It is the old concept from the old variety show days in television, watching Carol Burnett or Johnny Carson, which you can all find on YouTube, and Letterman, I think, too, live to tape. That we don't stop tape unless something absolutely horrible happens. Why? Because it gives it that live feel. And one of the things that I need to figure out as I now go my live streaming elsewhere than YouTube is how to transfer that experience to my YouTube viewers. Because you won't see the chat anymore. And I guess that leads to my last point. Now that the dust has settled with Kappa and all that jazz with YouTube, I've not changed my mind about resuming live streams on YouTube. The gaming stuff will all be on Twitch. The talk shows, I'm not sure. Trying to find people to do talk shows with is tough, and I'm not real happy with the price I'm paying for StreamYard. I don't think StreamYard is worth the money that I'm paying for it, or even the money that my sponsor pays for it. It's nice to be able to flash the chat on the screen, but on the other hand, and it really is the best way when you have multiple guests to chat, is to do it that way. But as far as ever streaming a game or anything like, no. I have XSplit. I love XSplit. It's all keyboard driven, and that's part of my prep time going into a broadcast, is to make sure that all my XSplit stuff is in a row. And so I just hit buttons and it does things for me. But as far as StreamYard is concerned, it just, first of all, it doesn't stream at 1080p. And I pay more for StreamYard in 3 months than I do for almost a full year of XSplit. StreamYard does wonderful things. All the back end stuff is through there. You can get your own branding there and promote whatever it is that you want to promote. But it's overpriced by a mile. And I may ask my sponsor to find another way to sponsor me, because I just don't see myself getting that kind of money out of it. And I don't want to go and do a Patreon pitch saying, this is what it costs a month for me to do this. Please do that. Please help defray some of the cost. Because I want the Patreon stuff to be because you like it and you want to help, not because of X. There may be some sort of special thing for the new computer next summer, but that's another story. And so back to the YouTube thing, I think with their poor communication overall, and the fact I think we're in for a large period of uncertainty on what they will and what they won't do, it's important for me as a content creator, to being a live content creator, to be going someplace where I feel like that I belong, that they want me. I'm not sure YouTube does that. I think YouTube wants content on their channel. I'm not sure that they want people to be doing live content anymore, unless you have a subscriber base of X or are verified or whatever. And I got to do what's best, I think, for the content I produce. I think you'll always be able to upload on YouTube. And I think what they should be doing with their new upload stuff is they can check for music copyright or content copyright or kid-friendly issues and reject if they see something as a problem. And so my take is that if you can upload and it goes through without a hitch, that it should be okay. And people can, the 85% of my viewers who watch on YouTube will find it and will be good. Because that's important. If I've said something wrong and the speaker might play some inadvertent music or whatever, then hopefully YouTube is developing a way that it can reject that stuff off the bat. You're risking the chance of it being claimed. And I'll still work with YouTube. I want to work with YouTube. I have 400 and some odd subscribers on YouTube. My bread and butter is YouTube. But, A, it's important to broaden your horizons. And B, you have to understand that when you go to a social media platform, they're the ones that set the rules, whether you like it or not. And they have a right to cover their buttocks, as it will. But as a content creator, I have the exact same right to cover my buttocks and make sure that my stuff is reaching the audience that I want it to reach. And so that's why in the future I've taken some time off, which I really needed to do, and will be continuing to do these things on different platforms. although tape videos like this will be YouTube exclusive. So again, it's a case of I think YouTube has found itself in a situation where it really doesn't know what it's doing. It set itself to cover its tushy on a lot of different things, and I think whatever way you want to do it, it's important to hedge your bets as a content creator or a perspective creator. Because I do old sports teams playing games, there's only a finite amount of people who are going to watch my stuff. I understand that. If I was cooking shows, older toys, be like Comics with Bueller, where there's a lot more people who are into the old comic thing than talking about replaying games from the 1974 Milwaukee Brewers, then yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit on what you want to do. So I'm not mad at YouTube. I'm not mad at anyone who wants to live stream at YouTube. You gotta do what's best for you. There is no what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So, all right. Any other questions you might have, please? I do read all the comments. I'm terrible about replying to them, but I do read them. I guess some basic things real quick. Any gaming mic will work, so a headset with a mic will get you on the air to talk over your videos. That's a $10, $15 thing. Is it going to sound great? No. But it's better than nothing. It's better than just play itself or you having some computer chirp it all for you. There's no personality in that. Ground ball to first, taken by the pitcher to out, is not good content. Again, make it your own. Make it something that you feel passionate about, but don't go overboard with it. Be genuine. Again, live is good. There's nothing wrong with going live, but if you can't keep a live connection, or if your live stuff isn't drawing flies and you're not getting any interaction, tape. You're going to get that interaction. Tape it. It's going to look better, especially in a Wi-Fi connection. Tape it. You're not losing anything. You're only going to gain with it. All right? Okay. Live stuff on Twitch. Something probably Monday night. And it'll all be on YouTube. If not that day, the next day. And any questions, comments, or concerns, just put them in the comments. And at least I'll read them. And if there's something, that I think I can respond to and be good, I will. And if there's something, any aspect of this that you specifically would like me to talk more about, let me know. I goes on camera. I has no problem with that. All right. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.